Hi, this is Sally Morgan, craniosacral therapist, physical therapist, and Tellington TTouch practitioner for animals and people. And this is Tristan, who's a Corgi, and we are here for another episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And I have two interesting things to report to you today. One, we've moved to the dining room so that you can see my backyard behind me, which incorporates several acres, 5 or 6. And yesterday, for the first time, I've lived here 2.5 years, for the first time ever, I had a fox trot through my yard. And he was slim and big and mostly blackish, definitely a fox with that beautiful tail. And it was really a special treat for me to see a fox yesterday because I've been really thinking and looking for messages in my life to help me know where my next steps will be and what things I should be paying attention to in my life. And foxes are about creativity, moving on, camouflage, and then of course foxes have a long association with fairies. And for me, as a Corgi lover and also a fairy lover, this was an especially great thing to see a fox yesterday. And as I've mentioned before, there is a legend that foxes were enchanted by fairies to create corgis to be helpful around the farm for farmers that were nice to the fairies. So seeing a fox in my yard is always a good thing. They keep down the rodent population, competing with the owls. I have several owls here, and the owls also eat lots of mice every night. So this is a good thing because anyone that lives in a rural setting will know that the spring is a time when freakishly mice come indoors just as they do in November. So anytime I can keep mice away from my house area, I'm happy. So I was really excited to see the fox yesterday. He was so beautiful, just trotting along with his tail out, looking for things to eat. And I realized that I don't have a compost pile here because of the problem we have with bears. And bears are pretty assertive and could easily knock down the fence I have in the yard for the Corgi. And of course I have a tree on my fence now, but I don't want to attract bears. However, I've been talking with some other people lately, and they leave things out in their yard for the crows. And I have been doing that as well. I have a huge wildflower meadow in my side yard on the other side of the house. I don't think I can do a live there unless we're outside, but when the flowers are in bloom, we might be able to, so you can see them. They're so beautiful. So to increase the organic matter out there in the winter, I do put orange peels, eggshells, banana peels, things like that out into that meadow. And I'm realizing that they do disappear, whether they're eaten by mice, which feeds the owls, or whether the crows are eating them, or I don't know, but they are disappearing, and I'm happy about that. So today, I had an interesting web conversation with one of my friends yesterday. She has a variety of things going on physically, including fibromyalgia and arthritis, and she's not like a senior woman. And she has corgis, and one of her corgis has DM right now and is in its final stages of DM. And she is a wonderful person. She's so wonderful with her dogs. I met her through the dog dancing community. And she said that because of the arthritis in her hand, she would like to try the TTouches, but she is not sure how successful she'll be with them. And so today we will go back to a circular touch, which I thought would be useful for her and for anyone who has arthritis or a very shy animal. And this is the Llama TTouch. It is a circular touch. So again, you're remembering that clock face that you're making your circle on. The clock face is about 1.25 inches, or perhaps smaller or bigger, depending on your TTouch. You're starting at the 6 on the clock, which is towards the bottom, and then you're making that 1.25 circles around the clock face and back to the 9. Tristan is not happy with his new pillow situation, but he's standing on the dining room table. Anyway, so you're imagining that little clock face and the 1.25 circles around the clock, around the face of the clock, back to the 9. So you'll be using your whole hand to do the Llama touch. It's almost like the lying leopard or the abalone, but you're using the back of your hand. Now, if someone comes towards you with their hand out like this, you're afraid. But if they come this way, it's much less threatening. And one of our wonderful practitioners, Marnie Reeder, who works with llamas primarily and camelids. She found that llamas are often very shy about having their faces touched, and she needed a TTouch that was very inviting to be able to work with them on their faces. And so she developed this Llama TTouch. So you're using the back of your hand, all of these fingers here on the back. And then we often do this on an animal's face and head, but I often use it on an animal's shoulder because of the work of Marguerite Coates, who is a Reiki practitioner for animals in Great Britain. She has postulated, and I think she's right, so do many people, that there is an 8th chakra in animals just behind their shoulders, which is their connection to human beings. And so that is a good place to greet an animal that is fearful. So I often start there with a Llama touch behind the animal's shoulder. So to do the Llama touch, you're just using the back of your hand, really all the way to where your fingers meet your hand, and you're making that circle and a quarter. And your hand is moving, but also your shoulder is moving. And it's a gentle touch. We're using only a pressure of a 1 or a 2 for this. And as you might recall, our pressures in TTouch can go from a 1 to a 9, and with small animals, we very rarely go above a 5. And even in horses, honestly, we often use a lighter touch, not a deeper touch. And the llama, because it's an uninvasive, less deep touch to start, you certainly want to continue to use a light pressure when you're using a Llama touch. So we found that this was a great thing to do with llamas around their head, and it's a much less threatening kind of touch than a lot of our others, and it's also a comforting way to greet an animal with the back of your hand. And even now in the dog training world, people are starting to understand that coming at a dog like this and waiting for him to pet you or lick you is not as powerful as being this way and waiting for a dog to come to you. So many people now know to greet a dog this way, waiting for the dog to come to you. So what you're going to do is, on the stuffed Corgi, just use the back of your hand. Oh my gosh, I can't hardly do it on him. I'll have to do it this way. Use the back of your hand, and you're just making that circle and a quarter with your whole hand. Now, I am really at a bad position to do this to show you, and I can't really, oh here, maybe this will work. So you're just doing a circle and a quarter with the back of your hand. Now this is a great one to use on kitties. Now my hand is a little bent towards me so that you can see it, but usually your hand would be flat like this against the animal, but I can't really get a 90-degree angle here to show you. I think I might be able to with my actual dog. Now, for my friend with the dog with DM, who wants to try to do Llama touch or any TTouches with their dog, if you have a dog with a systemic thing like Lyme disease, DM, a neurologic condition, even Cushing's, I always start towards the head and make lines of touches down the dog's body. This stimulates the circulatory system, the lymphatic system, and is a really good way to encourage any kind of systemic, organic, the organs, moving in the body to move from the front to the back. So I generally do this down an animal's body. And again, my touches are backwards on the camera, but you might be going counterclockwise or clockwise when you do this. But just notice what you're doing and try going the other way. So if I try to go counterclockwise, which is looking clockwise to you, it's not really easy to do it that way on this dog because his hairs are growing the other way. So just check yourself. There's no right or wrong, but you know, if you're on your left hand going counterclockwise, notice that and try to teach yourself to go both ways easily so that you'll really be doing what the dog needs and not what just feels comfortable to you. There's nothing wrong with that, but we need to make sure that you can go both ways in your circular TTouches. So let's try some Llama touch with my Corgi. He's totally fallen off his pillows. He's moved the tablecloth, slid across the dining room table. Oh, Tristan. So we often use this touch on their faces. So I can show you here because you can see his head. Come here, Hunt. Oh, he's sliding down the table. What do you think, Biss? Is this a good location for conversations with a Corgi? He's not happy with the table. Now, especially if your dog is a little bigger than mine, doing these llama touches around the face and head is a good way to prepare for mouth work, which we will be doing later this week. Poor Tristan, he's sliding on the tablecloth across the dining room table. And he's surveying his chair behind him and finding it not that stable looking. There. Maybe you can see the top of his neck here. Now, as with the other TTouches, when you're doing this, please try to have your other hand on your dog to complete the connection and also to give them some stability. If I were working with a dog at my holistic physical therapy practice, I would be using the Llama Touch gently as a way to challenge their balance when they're standing on one of those inflatable dog bones or on some pillows or cushions or whatever you have in your house that you're working with your dog to teach them improved balance and how to use their trunk muscles. So for a dog with DM, actually, it would be a good idea to set them up on like something firm, like a sofa cushion, and do these llama touches on him while he's standing front to back. Just to give him a remembrance of what his hind end could have been doing before he had DM. And I really have seen a very slow progression of DM in my dogs that have had it. And I really think it's because of their daily TTouches, the craniosacral work they've gotten, the electric acupuncture that my sister has done with them, and really cold laser. So again, with the Llama Touch, you're going to have a 2-second circle. I'm doing them a little fast here because Tristan's falling again. The poor guy. So what would we use the Llama Touch for? It's a great one to build confidence in timid or head-shy horses, llamas, or timid dogs, or kitties. It helps when you're approaching an animal for the first time to do this because it is a really comforting, gentle kind of touch. And as I said, their 8th chakra is in the area of the shoulder, right behind where the hair turns a different color. And that's where they connect with humans. And that's a good place to start working with an animal. And the Llama Touch is very gentle and uninvasive, so it's a good one to start there with. It also can be a great touch to soothe a nervous animal. So if I have a new dog at my house who's all wiggly-waggly like a Labrador and can't settle down, I might do some nice, gentle, slow Llama Touches around his shoulder. And even if he's a waggy dog, around his hind end near his waggy tail, to help him calm down. Sometimes when dogs are wagging excessively, it's because they are stressed and nervous, not because they're happy and friendly and greeting us. There are many ways that a dog wags his tail, so you have to pay attention to the different types of wags and the way different breeds wag their tails. For instance, Labradors are much more waggy than a lot of other kinds of dogs, like an English setter. So just be aware of your dog's wagging, and when he is wagging out of stress and anxiety, and when he's wagging because he's happy to see you or expecting a snack. Now, another great thing about the Llama Touch, especially with horses, is that it helps them, if you're working on their necks, to lower their heads. I think this is true for dogs as well. If you've got a big dog, like my niece who has a Ridgeback Pit Bull mix, Mila, probably weighs 100 pounds now. I don't know. She's been on a diet after her ACL surgery. But it's really a wonderful thing with an animal to get them to be able to have their head down and in line with their backbone. This takes a lot of stress off of some of their postural muscles, and it's a nice thing to encourage your dog to stretch his neck out and take a little time to relax those muscles in their neck. Tristan's finally noticed the lights on the ceiling here. And then the other thing that's great about using the Llama Touch, particularly on a horse, is that if you have an animal that has a sore neck, and a lot of horses do because of the way we ride them and control them by their heads, the Llama Touch is a great one to do on sore muscles on a horse's neck. Now the same is true for dogs. My mom used a particular kind of head collar on her dog for years and still does sometimes when she takes her for a walk. She's a big schnauzer. She tends to pull, and if she sees a squirrel, especially when she was younger, she starts to run after the squirrel, and then the head collar pulls her neck back. This creates a very sore neck on the schnauzer. So these Llama Touches are a nice way to relax the dog's neck after something like that's happened. And she does now have a harness for her dog, which really fits her well and has stopped her from pulling. But it's also a little bit tricky to put it on, and it's got a special leash that goes with it. And so it still isn't always the first thing they pull out of the closet to walk Shotzi. So again, doing some of these Llama Touches is a nice thing to do for an animal with a sore neck in particular. Now, if you have trouble with your hands and making these small circular touches is difficult for you, then these Llama Touches can be your go-to TTouch. And they absolutely will be just as effective as many of the other TTouches for different things going on with your pet. Particularly with a dog who is very sensitive. So the Llama Touch is a great one to use for shy and sensitive animals, nervous animals, and for people who can't find full mobility in their fingers to do the other TTouches. The Llama Touch is a real blessing. Tristan, I'll do some python lifts on his shoulders here because he has been sliding down the table. So today, as you can see, it's a very cloudy, wet day here in Massachusetts again. You can still see the snow in the back. The lighting is terrible out there, so what you see that might be white could be a glare on the lawn or the snow. But it is a very beautiful setting, and I have crows and owls and a bobcat that trots by on occasion, and the fox, seen a coyote, all kinds of aquatic life. That was a beaver habitat out there for a long time, but beavers, as you know, build dams, and they were building a dam in a spillway pipe, which is very difficult to remove, and so the town captured the beavers and moved them to another area. And so I don't have beavers there anymore, but the rich habitat that they created is still there. And we're just maybe a mile and a half upstream from a big lake where there are many, many beavers. And they habitually come back to their lodges and have their kittens there again. So it is very possible that I will have some more beavers move in here at some point, which would make me so happy. I love beavers so much, and I had the great privilege when I was in high school of working with a woman named Hope Buke-Munchie, and I have no idea how to pronounce her last name. She has written beautiful books about beavers that she has living near her home in South Jersey, and she was an amazing, amazing naturalist and biologist, and I was so lucky to get acquainted with her when I was in high school and spend time feeding the beavers carrots and poplar branches from the docks she had all over the habitat in her backyard. And eventually she and her husband even had a way to dig a little hole up into their house where the beavers could come into their living rooms in the winter and visit with them. So I was very, very lucky to spend time in this wonderful world she created with her beavers. And it really has shaped my life in so many ways, and I am so grateful to the time I spent with her. And her books are fabulous. You can still find them on eBay, I think, more than anywhere else. They're out of print. And in fact, if you look for books about beavers, it is very hard to find them. There are very few. There was another woman who wrote several books about beavers as well, which I also have. So I love the habitat in my yard for the beavers. Even though they're not here, there are lodges and dams at several points along my street where I can see where the beavers have been. And as much as people say that they are difficult in the landscape, I have found that the ponds and secondary streams they created were beneficial for many of the animals in my area. The bobcat one day was trotting by, and the crows went nuts and were chasing him, screaming, through the river. And so the bobcat had to just jump in, belly flop, and flounder across, little paws everywhere. And he got across the stream, and he was so offended by the water. He was just like a cat. He was like shaking his feet off and making dirty faces. And meanwhile, the crows were just after him, just flying so close and screaming and chasing him away from the area. Because the crows really are the leaders in my area here. They live in these very tall old pine trees, and I really love the crows. They are some of my best friends in my yard. And as you know, I have them with me when I'm asking them to eat the roadkill and critters that are unfortunate in the road. And I'm really grateful that I have the crows in my yard. So thank you again for joining us this morning on Conversations with a Corgi for Llama TTouch. Tomorrow we will not be on in the morning because I have to go to my other occupation as an educator and leave very early in the morning. But we will be back Wednesday to explore some of the additional TTouches. We have the ear touch, the mouth touch, the tail touches, paws and leg touches coming up, and one more, the zigzag TTouch. So I will see you on Wednesday morning as we continue our look at some of the TTouches that you can use with your pets. This is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, Tellington TTouch practitioner, and Tristan Corgi, who is a Corgi, for Conversations with a Corgi. Have a great day.